Engineer Dr. Wisdom Enan is a quintessential leader, technocrat, and attitude scholar who hails from Akwa Ibom State, Nigeria. He obtained his undergraduate, master's, and doctorate degrees in mechanical engineering from the University of Bath, a leading institution in engineering in the UK. He currently serves as an operations engineering consultant and is in charge of the operations and maintenance of 24 shallow water oil and gas assets in Nigeria. Prior to this, Dr. Enang served as an engineering technical lead responsible for the project management and design engineering oversight for more than 20 oil and gas execution projects between 2015 and 2020. Dr. Enna is a chartered engineer with the Institute of Mechanical Engineers, UK, and an internationally published expert in the field of engineering. His areas of research include carbon capture, energy economics, operations integrity management, oil and gas policy formulation and implementation, enhanced oil recovery and operation digitization, in addition to providing technical advice on the Nigerian oil and gas industry reform program. He is a renowned expert whose contributions to the development of oil and gas in Nigeria has been featured in a number of public communication media. Dr. Enang's unrivaled contributions have been recognized both nationally and internationally with accolades from several renowned professional institutions, including a key scientific article certificate presented by the Advanced in Engineering Society, a certificate of recognition presented by the Multidisciplinary Digital Publishing Institute, recognition award presented by the prestigious Lawyers in Oil and Gas Network Group, to name a few. Dr. Wisdom has proven to be a benevolent leader through his various contributions in vocational nation-building extracurricular activities, including free tutoring, youth empowerment, mentoring, and trainings. Dr. Enna is happily married and blessed with a daughter. He loves supporting and investing in technology and agriculture. I have the privilege to yield the floor to our moderator, Engineer Dr. Wisdom Enna. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone, and thanks for having me today. I believe the next item would be to introduce the speaker. Okay. So today, just as the chapter chair had earlier said, we have the privilege of having someone very experienced who will be talking to us about a very important topic. And none other than, sorry, I hope I don't mispronounce your name, Ukwebitere Otas, yeah? Otas is a human factors enthusiast with 9 years success leading quality, health, safety, security, and environmental aspects of operations for high growth organizations in Middle East and West Africa. He has a master's degree in occupational health, safety, and occupational safety and health, a graduate member of the Institution of Occupational Safety and Health, member of Chartered Institution of Economics and Human Factors. He's also a chartered, he has also completed some training with the Institute of Economics and Human Factors through the Energy Learning Pathway Level 1, and has also earned a professional certification in risk management. Matthias has additional education and experience in drilling and workover completions, project management, and currently works at Saudi Aramco Nabal's Drilling as a drilling HSC supervisor. He is committed to lifelong learning and provides a self-healthy and human-centered workspace for devising significant solutions for optimizing human performance while maintaining sound environmental, health, and safety conditions. So with much respect to his intellectual capacity and experience, that we're very delighted to have him here to present this topic to us. Over to you, sir.
Good evening, all.
Good evening.
I am excited to be here. I would want to just share my presentation. Okay, so good evening, all. I mentioned earlier, I'm excited to be in your midst today. Already, thank you very much, Dr. Wisdom, for that introduction. So, would not want to waste much time on this. We'll be talking about human factors, how it affects our ability to improve safety performance and business performance in this current era. Why is this necessary? The fact is, if you allow me, I would like to remind us of the SPE's vision, which is to enable the oil and gas community to meet the world's demands sustainably and safely. But to do that, the SPE has seen it fit to create the SPE Human Factor Technical Section, which is involved in creating a living community for human factor experts and human factor engagement to drive the awareness for human factors. Over the years, the chemical and process industry, and specifically the oil and gas industry, has seen significant improvements in terms of engineering practices and in system and health and safety performance. However, despite these improvements, this industry has been beset by some significant incidents that has drawn our attention to the need to pay attention to human factors. At this stage, you must be asking yourself, why human factors? What is human factors really? Is it just another slogan that we want to add to the plethora of safety jargons out there? To ensure that our discussion is streamlined to answer these questions, we will be looking at our discussions with a focus to have 3 learning outcomes at the end of this discussion. And the first learning outcomes we'll be looking at is why? What business case do we have to bring human factors to the front burner when it comes to ensuring improved safety performance and improved business performance by extension? What is human factors and what it's not? Then we'll look at how human factors affect our everyday life, the real life application of human factors generally, then also in terms of industry specific, how we can integrate or how we can apply human factors. Some examples in our day-to-day activities while working in the industry. So to get us properly started and to encourage the engagement from the audience, I'll be running a number of polls, and this will be the first poll. I don't know if the admin will be able to run the poll via Zoom, so we'll be able to get adequate feedback. So that's 1 minute. So we're able to get adequate feedback to see the, so I can get the audience response easily. Mr. Simeon, will you be able to run the first pool?
No, it's not set yet. Still on it.
Oh, it's still on it. Okay.
Yeah.
Since it's not set, we'll just we'll go with the first pool. I would appreciate if the audience participates in this pool. From your knowledge, from your experience, what do you think? Which of the following options there best describe the human factor benefits in an organization? Feel free to use the raise of hand feature, and that will help me have an idea of what you think. Okay, if it's not set yet, I guess we'll okay, I can see one individual raising this. And however, it might not, I appreciate that, though it might not easily address the purpose for which the pool has been created, which is to see the audience response as to what they think would be the benefits of human factors in an organization, because we have 3 options to choose from. But to help us properly introduce why we need to talk about human factors, the importance of human factors, we'll be looking at a video that highlights how human factors can either help to make or mar the progress in the oil and gas industry, both safety and business-wise.
Sir, it's at dire times like this when I stop and ask myself, what would Oprah do?
Hang it all. What's the point? It's a disaster.
Stop!
That button launches all of our nuclear missiles.
Well, then which button gets me a latte?
That would be the other one, sir.
What idiot designed this thing? You did, sir. Fair enough.
I'm sure that video is pretty interesting, though you must have noticed that the gentleman was microseconds away from creating a nuclear disaster. Why? Because 2 buttons, very, very identical, similar buttons, same size, same color, same labeling, being used to control a very sensitive weapon for nuclear weapons, and one for coffee. So despite being the individual who designed this, he was microseconds from creating a fatal or engaging in a fatal error. And this clearly highlights why we need to look at human factors, because there are a lot of examples like this in our day-to-day activities, at our workstations, our control rooms, workstations, where by virtue of design of equipment, by virtue of design of system, error traps have been created that make it prone for humans, for individuals to fall into that trap of error. So you might think this is just a video, but there have been real life incidents that prove this video to be a fact. And we're using these real life incidents to build the business case for why we need to start giving attention to human factors.
Sir, it's at dire times like this when I...
So the 4 incidents we'll be using is just a sample of the incident, some of the most catastrophic incidents in the oil and gas industry, and one in the nuclear industry. We'll be looking at the Piper Alpha disaster. We're looking at the BP Texas refinery incident. We'll also look at the BP Deepwater Horizon blowout, and finally look at the 3 Mile Island incident in 1979. And so straight away to the first, that of the Piper Alpha. The North Sea oil platform there was a sudden explosion and the fire in 1988. And this incident led to 167 fatalities and complete destruction of that offshore platform. I'm sure most of us must have heard of the Lord Cullen's report that came after investigation report that came after this incident. But what some of us must have not given attention to is the direct link between human failures and this incident. There was a need to carry out maintenance of a safety valve. However, two human failures, which I would just want to highlight, from that maintenance of safety valve resulted in this catastrophic incident. The first human failure or human factor failure there was failure in safety critical communication, because there is no adequate communication concerning the status of the plant during the maintenance of that safety valve. And also due to a leak around the pipework in that area, all of this contributed directly to the explosion and fire incident that led to the total destruction of that platform. Second human failure that also resulted or contributed directly or escalated the incident was the poor decision making of the other surrounding platforms to continue production due to the conflict between conflicting goals between the production and safety. So despite this platform being on fire, the other platforms continued production, and that exacerbated the consequences of this incident. So this is one of those incidents that clearly highlight the need for us to start paying attention to human factor. The second incident we're looking at is the BP Texas refinery. The picture kind of speaks for itself. This occurred in 2005, causing 15 fatalities and 180 persons injured. You might also wonder if there were any human factor failures that resulted in this incident. The fact is, the investigation clearly pointed out a number of human factor failures. We would only be highlighting a few of them, and the few of them we want to highlight is that there was lack of supervision on site, as at the time. There was poor shift handover, and so the workers had been excessively worked, resulting in the workers being heavily fatigued because some operators had worked up to 30 days in a row. Not to even talk about inadequate procedures. And that still extends to our day, because when we say inadequate procedures, we're talking about where there is a stark difference between work as imagined in the procedure and work as actually done. And all of these human failures were clearly pointed out or identified during the investigation findings. The third incident would look at quickly is one I am sure that most of us had the opportunity to watch live on television, which occurred on April 20th, 2010, the BP Deepwater Horizon platform blowout in the Gulf of Mexico. This resulted in one of the greatest oil spills ever. The CSB investigation, if you read the official report from the CSB, Chemical Safety Board, United States, the interesting thing is the report had a section dedicated to human and organizational factors findings because of the significance of the contribution to these findings to the incident. I will just highlight two of these human factor failures that was identified by the CSB. And one of them is a lack of incorporation of human factors contribution into the planning and execution of the temporary abandonment of the well during the incident. And that led to the escalation of the incident. The second one is similar to what we just mentioned in terms of the difference between work as imagined and work as done. When we say work as imagined in the procedure and work as done, the operator, which was a BP, did not have a procedure that covered every foreseeable scenario, thereby making it a bit difficult for the platform operator Transocean to be better equipped to respond to emergencies. So these are just two of the clear human failures that were linked to these disastrous incidents. In summary, the CSP said that this incident challenges the oil and gas industry in terms of the oil and gas industry effectively assessing the human factors implication, barriers that are in place for mitigation of high risk in the oil and gas industry. So overall, these three incidents points to the fact that human factors is something we must give attention to. But this does not only just rest within the oil and gas industry. Other industries that require high liability have also experienced catastrophic incidents due to the failure to pay attention or adequate attention to human factors. And we'll highlight just one of them, which is the incident that occurred in Three Mile Island, Pennsylvania, USA, in 1979, where there was a partial meltdown of a reactor. The partial meltdown of the reactor was due to loss of coolant, but the operators in the control room found it difficult to diagnose this early on due to two clear human factor issues. One was an ambiguous control room indicator on the user interface. And so that ambiguous control room indicator delayed or made it difficult for them to diagnose early on that there was loss of coolant in the reactor. The second human factor connection was that there was a faulty indicator, and not just that the indicator was faulty, that faulty indicator was followed by an alarm flood. That alarm flood meant that the operators were inundated with several alarms, causing them to be confused and putting them in a barrel of tunnel vision, making it difficult for them to diagnose the problem. The resultant effect was that the reactor was so contaminated and bad that it could not be restarted or reused. And it led to the release of radioactive gases and iodine into the environment, with resultant representing health risk to a wide area of local inhabitants. So all of these events clearly build the case for human factors. Yes, we must talk about safety, then we must give attention to human factors, not necessarily as a subset of safety, but human factors as a stand-alone. Of course, it has to be integrated, but we must give attention to human factors. So to summarize this all, I would want to use a chart here, which I'm sure many of us are familiar with in terms of the causes of incidents. Over time, it's been said that 80% of incidents have been caused by human error, though unfortunately, the blame has been placed on the individual without realizing that human error and non-conformance are products of system and organizational weakness. Similar to the video we watched earlier on, the errors created, the errors made by humans are mostly due to what we call error traps, where humans are set up to fail by virtue of the design of the system, the design of the process, or the design of the equipment. We'll talk more about error traps as we go down this presentation. But overall, we can see that if we pay attention to human factors, then we can drive safety performance and by extension, improve business performance. 80% shows if we are able to take care of 60% of human error and non-performance, then we indeed drive safety performance. It's key that I want to highlight that yes, there has been significant improvements in the oil and gas industry due to improved engineering practices and improved innovation. But but the fact is that in terms of safety performance, there's kind of a plateau. Safety performance seems to have stagnated and has not evolved as engineering practices has evolved. And this is where integration of human factors comes in. Now that we've successfully been able to show why we need to talk about human factors, we've seen that there is a clear link between human factors and a number of, and those were just samples, a good number of some catastrophic events that have happened in the oil and gas industry. What is this human factors? Since we've seen the why, let's now look at the what. That takes us to our second pool. I don't know if the admin, if Mr. Simeon is ready for us with the second pool. Mr. Simeon?
Unable to locate it. Please just don't make use of the chat box.
Okay, let's see. Okay, so I would appreciate if you could make some comment with regards to this pool. Some of us must have heard of human factors before now. Human performance, ergonomics, which is, I think, is a much more common term. I mean, ergonomics. But what do you think? Do you think human factors, human performance, and ergonomics, do they mean exactly the same thing? I would appreciate if we can make some comments in the chat box. Okay, the first comment, this is no. I'll just give some additional sequence, okay? 2 no, 1 not really. Okay, B, no, okay, that's the 4th no. Okay, okay, we would want to move on, but thank you very much for participating. Roughly, we had about 90% of the responses saying no, they do not mean the same thing. So thank you for participating. We now want to look at what is really human factors. For some time, human factors due to I would use the word technical grammars. Some persons find it not enjoyable. So I would want to I'll try to be as layman as possible and try to avoid using big grammatical words if I would want, or statements if I would want to put it that way. I try to make this, explain it as layman as possible. Do understand that human factors and ergonomics can be used interchangeably. However, human factor focuses on human interactions within the wider work system. It refers to a range of factors, social factors, organizational factors, a range of factors such as social organizational factors, physical factors that affect the human interaction with processes, with plant or equipment, and with the wider system, including the people in those systems. Ergonomics tend to many a times refer to the physical aspects of the environment with regards to control panels, workstations. But human factor is much more broader and much more encompassing. And that is why I put that picture there to illustrate this clearly for us. So you can see the arrows there highlighting the human factors in terms of physical, psychological, social, and organizational factors that an individual will interact with while carrying out activities within the work system. The ergonomics, many a times, is limited in scope, is not as broad as human factors. as we know, humans do not exist in a vacuum. We exist within a work system. And so within that system, we interact. So those factors that affect how we interact with the people, with the equipment, with the processes, that is what we refer to as human factors. Recently, there tends to be an interplay of words in terms of the use of human factors and human performance. However, human factors and human performance are not the same thing. Though, as I said, recently, tend to see some persons merge human, tend to take human factors and human performance as the same, but they are not the same. Human performance simply refers to what we do and how we do it. As we'll see in the next slides, we'll come to understand that human factors is a distinct discipline. Human performance it's not entirely a distinct discipline, but though it does fall more into the realm of psychology and sports, sports professional. But for human factors, it's a distinct discipline that covers a wide area of the other discipline. It's a scientific discipline, which is very, very important to state. And it dates back as far back as to Second World War, when efforts were being made to see that pilots in the jets, the war jets being used during the Second World War, were comfortable, they were able to minimize their errors during combat. And that's how far back human factors date back. And so human factors intervention incorporates a lot of other fields, such like anatomy, physiology, mechanical engineering, industrial engineering, psychology. So you talk about behavioral economics, cognitive science, experimental psychology. So all of this is the discipline that's what the discipline of human factor encompasses. But just to highlight again, the human factors and human performance, as much as some persons tend to mix them, they are not the same. So human factors is focused on integration with design of work, equipment, and processes. It is and has never been a separate initiative. It's key to emphasize this because as we build the business case for human factors, and going forward, when we want to think about human factors, we do not want to see it as a separate initiative, but we need to integrate human factors into what we do. To clearly highlight this, I would like to use this human performance wheel adapted from the Chemical Center for Process Safety to apply it to our field or to our industry, the chemical industry. You can see there the wheel for human factor covers both plant, people, processes, and it covers almost of area of the business, if I would say that. You see, there's the area for business area that has to do with maintenance, safety system and barriers, incident investigation, communication, environmental factors, shift work issues, leadership, culture. So human factors is far, far broader and to benefit the organization at large. So now that we've clearly established what human factors is, then sometimes people tend to misunderstand certain other principles or theories for human factors. So we want to look at what human factors isn't. Number one, of course, human factors is not common sense. And when we look at the application down the presentation, we'll come to clearly see that human factors is not common sense in any way. It's not just mere courtesy and civility. It's not behavior modification training. It's not behavior-based safety. Some persons tend to make the mistake to assume that just because they have behavior-based safety system in their organizations, they already have human factors integrated into their system. And so when they are applying for contracts during the tender stage, when the question comes for human factor, I have seen cases where people put behavior-based safety, but that is not human factor. Human factor is far, far more encompassing. Behavior-based safety is a subset of that. Human factor is not a cause of accidents. Human error, if I would want to be a bit more specific, is not a cause of accident. It's a bit common to see in the industry where investigations are carried out and root cause is being said to be human error. And they could, depending on the level or the knowledge of the investigator, might go ahead to say it's due to a lapse or a slip. It's like saying a blue car was involved in an accident, but the car that was involved in an accident, it was involved in the accident because the car is blue. Blue is just the color of the car. Same like humans, we are error prone. So human error cannot be said to be the root cause of an accident. Yes, it will cause an accident, but it is not the latent cause of an accident. Then finally, it is not dark hat. Human factor, it's not too expensive. It's not too difficult to understand. First of all, it's not too expensive to integrate into our system. We do not need any form of witchcraft, but some organizations tend to shy away, thinking it will be too difficult to integrate. But can we find human factors application around us? Since we've been able to clearly understand what human factors is, are there evidence to show that human factors affect our life, both within the oil and gas industry and beyond? This picture, or this set of pictures, clearly illustrates how far human factors application affects all we do. I would want to start with the picture with a robot holding a drill pipe or a drill string. It would excite you to know that, in fact, the first well to be completely drilled by robots was carried out by Naval Drilling in Texas, in USA. That was made possible because human factors was given attention to. There were no roughnecks on the drilling floor. There was no need to have jerrycans going up the drilling rig when it comes to tripping out or tripping in. That was made possible because human factors application was given attention to. And so far, as much as we made aware of, it was done incident-free. That's just within the oil and gas industry. Outside the oil and gas industry, we find human factors application in the vehicles we use. Sometimes some of us are familiar with the Kia Picanto car. Certain vehicles are made with specific anthropometric specification for specific population sets. And so some persons wonder why we have such cars in Nigeria, because our population sets are much more of a bigger, in terms of bodies and anthropometric size, we have of the bigger variety. So for our cars to be much more enjoyable and adaptable, human factors played a huge role. Even as far as autonomous vehicles that are currently in use, human factors played a very, very huge role. In the aviation industry, human factors, within the maritime industry, as we can see, the bridge of a vessel, the control station, to ensure that the control station is well designed and adapted to minimize the likelihood of error, the human factors was given proper attention. And even within the space industry, everything we interact with, our mobile phones, hand tools, all of these have been improved daily because human factors have been given attention to. So we cannot run away, or it's high time we start paying attention to human factors, because it would help us improve not just safety performance, but business performance. As we've seen, that it applies not just only to just the oil and gas industry, but even beyond the industry, human factors applies properly. So to drill this down home, we want to look at how we can integrate human factors, look at some areas, how we can apply human factors within the industry. And that brings us to error traps. Now, the word error trap is pretty self-explanatory, as you can imagine, but it might sound counterintuitive in the sense that can someone be trapped into making a human error? The fact is, yes, 100%. When we carry out activities, there are likelihood of an error occurring when we carry out or when we engage in any activity. Any condition that increases that likelihood of that error is what we call error traps. Now, error trap is a bit much more an easy term to use, but it's also specifically it's also what we call performance influencing factors or performance shaping factors or error enforcing conditions. All these mean one and same thing. Within the industry, due to design of either equipment or system, people are prone to error traps. We'll be looking at a list produced by the UK HSE executives. It's not by any means exhaustive, but it just highlights some of the error, some of the conditions that could increase the likelihood of error when carrying out the task. And interestingly, our share did mention one of them in terms of leadership, the level and nature of leadership, and not just leadership, also quality of supervision, communication. Earlier on, we established that the incident investigation into Piper, into BP, Texas disasters had major issues with communication, the inadequacy of procedures that are inappropriate. All these, they increase the likelihood of operators, of personnel making an error. And that is why McStat in 1999 clearly stated that attributing accidents to actions of frontline operators is an oversimplification. Because in terms of performance and inherent accident potential, they are functions of the parts, the human and engineering parts. They are functions of this part. So the likelihood of us making an error is a function of the engineering and the human part and how these parts fit together. So in effect, if we reduce the likelihood of error, then we can improve safety performance, thereby improving business performance overall. We'll look at some pictures that clearly highlight error traps to bring this to the fore better. If you look at the first picture on your left, you would notice that the friend is on the platform and is struggling to close the platform gate. So say safety-wise, it's mandatory to close that platform gate. If for every individual on that platform, they find it a challenge to close that platform gate whenever they have to use that platform, most likely that would create a room for the individual to develop a shortcut. Most likely they would look for a way to just permanently tie the gate to keep it open, to prevent the gate being an obstacle. Due to poor design, there's inadequate space to allow that gate to be closed. So by virtue of the design, there's already an error trap for the individuals working in that environment. And the picture under also highlights another issue with design. There was obviously no attention or poor attention given to maintainability. You can imagine this pump here. on a day where the maintenance technician, the mechanic or whoever is very exhausted, is pressed for time, do you think he would want to go through the stress of trying to dismantle this equipment? Don't you think he would likely just want to pick up that this machine has been inspected or maintained? So that increases the likelihood of error. Yes, you might say, it could be said it might say deliberate error, or that's what we call violations, but nonetheless, by virtue of the design, that has increased the likelihood of the error. Lastly, we'd like to talk about the two on the right there. If you're asked to open on the upper right-hand corner, if you're asked to open the drawer on the upper right-hand corner, how would you open it? With the handle on top, if that drawer or that cabinet happens to be in your office. If you open with the handle on top, which is where you have the arrow pointing to, you'll be dragging the entire cabinet. You will not be opening the upper drawer. Poor design, and this increases the likelihood of error. So this clearly illustrates how error trap contributes to increased incidents. When there are error traps, then certainly the likelihood of errors would only increase. So this helps us appreciate the fact that human factors is key and must be given attention to if we must improve safety and business performance. The last example, just to bring this to the fore, is procedures. I'm sure some of us must have found ourselves in situations where we find a disconnect between what the procedure states and what we actually do in the field to successfully carry out the task. So if you look at the procedure, steps 4, 5, and 6, I'll just read it out, then we'll discuss it. So step 4 says, check that the solenoid valve is set to close main valve. Slowly open the gate or block valve upstream of the valve. The word slowly can be misinterpreted. What does slowly mean? How slow can slow really be? Can that word slowly be more specific? Slow for Mr. A might be different for Mr. B. So that procedure using the word slowly has created an error trap for the operator. Now, if you go down to step 5, you would see the word used twice there, carefully, in that step 5. Carefully. What does that really mean? How careful can an individual be? So it's very, very important that even when we design procedures, we need to consider human factors. Sometimes we wonder why operators do not follow procedures, but that's because there's a difference between what we call work as imagined, the way the work was imagined by the engineer in the office, and the way the work is actually done by the operators or the engineers in the field. And it's key that we don't just have the field operators buying, but it's important that when designing procedures, human factor tools should be used. We have a number of human factors tools that can be used, such as the walkthrough, talk-through. That helps identify potential human error while developing the procedures. And that enables whoever is developing the procedure to properly address those error traps and thereby limiting the likelihood of errors occurring. So overall, human factors application extends far beyond the oil and gas industry. It is a very, very vital aspect we must give attention to if we must improve safety and business performance. So in summary, as we've considered, we can see that when we reduce error traps, we will thereby be able to reduce the likelihood of errors, to reduce the likelihood of incidents, and that in fact would affect or improve the bottom line of any organization. We can all see that we all have a lot to benefit when human factors is integrated from concept stage to execution stage. The knowledge of human factors can be used to help improve human performance. It will help us enjoy our jobs better. So as leaders, as safety specialists, for those of us involved or present in the audience, for supervisors, managers, we want to start giving attention to human factors, because the earlier we integrate human factors into the project, then the safer the project will be, cost-effective, and more cost-effective that project will be. Would you imagine the cost of trying to redesign a control room display station, possibly due to failure to incorporate adequate human factors when designing it during the design stage? It would be massive. The cost to operations, sometimes the cost of even either repairing or installing or replacing that workstation, but even the cost to operation will be very, very massive. So human factors will be very beneficial for all of us and for our organization at large. But how can we, you might be asking, gain knowledge in terms of how can we know more about human factors, what opportunities are there for us to grow our knowledge and possibly become experts in this field. There are a number of free materials out there. There are a number of opportunities free that we can use to gain knowledge. And one of them has been put together by the Shell Institute of Economics and Human Factors in collaboration with Energy Institute. And that's the Human Performance Competence Pathway for the energy industry. The link is there in the slide. It's free, and I assure you you would thoroughly enjoy it. But you can go on to develop yourself from not just the initial introductory e-learn course. You can complete the level 1, which is what I'm currently undertaking now. And you can go on to level 2 and level 3, and that even qualifies you to become a technical member of the Study Institute of Economics and Human Factors. But also, as we mentioned earlier on, human factors is a discipline of its own. So we have schools. You can decide to get a university degree, a master's degree. There are schools such as University of Derby in the UK, University of Nottingham, University of Loughborough. These are some of the schools that offer courses human factor, and that could help you gain more knowledge in human factor. There are also a number of courses out there, some being offered by Association of Industrial Chemical Engineers. So when you undertake those courses, that would help to build not just your knowledge, but help you grow to possibly become an expert in terms of human factors. Further access or further materials where we can gain information for human factors, we can look at the Human Performance and Oil and Gas website. It's a dedicated website for human factors within the oil and gas industry. One of the persons that spearheaded it is the chair of the SPE Human Factors Technical Section, Dr. Marcin Nazaric. You can also connect with us in our SPE Human Factors Technical Section. We'll be glad to have you join us to help us grow the awareness, especially within Nigeria. Not just the awareness, also look at integration, because for a fact, the maturity level in terms of human factor within the Nigeria oil and gas industry is a bit low. You can also look at the Energy Institute. They have dedicated section for human factors. So these are sources by which you can gain more knowledge and improve your competence with regards to human factors. To summarize, we clearly see that human factors is a technical discipline with a long history that dates as far back as World War II. It is for a fact that human factors can significantly improve an organization's safety, efficiency, and reliability. Because for industries that are even far ahead of the oil and gas industries in terms of human factors integration, such as the aviation industry, the nuclear industry, they can testify to the wonders that human factors application and integration has done for them. Human factors can be applied throughout the life cycle of a system, from concept to decommission. And there is a huge opportunity for human factors to be fully ingrained within the Nigerian oil and gas industry to enhance the safety performance of the oil and gas industry in Nigeria to the benefits of both the operators within the oil and gas industry and we who work in the industry. Conclusively, we just want to conclude with some common words that we tend to get as recommendations from incident investigations where human error are identified as root causes. Personnel need to pay more attention, be more careful. It's important to state that these kind of recommendations are why safety performance has plateaued in the oil and gas industry. These kind of recommendations are why, despite significant improvements, engineering improvements in the chemical industry, the oil and gas industry, we still experience catastrophic events from time to time. We want to remember our goal is to make it easier for people to do the right thing. And that's the goal of human factors, is to make it easier for people to do the right thing. So that's it for the presentation. If you have any questions, I'll look forward to the moderator lighting those questions.
All right, thank you very much, Otas, and thanks everyone for listening in. It's been a very educating session, personally for me, coming from the design background, design engineering, and even the operations background. So are there any questions for Otas? If you do have any questions, do raise your hands and you will be called upon. Any more questions? Any questions? Okay, I think no questions would show that it was very clear. In fact, I really learned and benefited a lot from your presentation, and I'll be touching base for. Okay, sorry, Dorcas has a question. Dorcas, please go ahead. Hi, Dorcas, please unmute and go ahead.
Okay. Sorry, I had to be given access to unmute. Good evening, everybody. So I have one question. When you were talking about human factor in relation to process or design, something like that, you gave several examples like slowly, carefully. So I would like to know what would have been a better word to use or a better process description in situations like that. Thank you.
Okay. Very interesting question. I would want to use an example of a torque wrench. You can be more specific, say, for example, you need to use a torque wrench to tighten bolts. You can be more specific as to the pressure rating for using that torque range to say 1 psi. So that tells the individual using that pressurized torque range to set it at 1 bar to apply the proper pressure for the torque range to tighten that bolt. That is more specific. And there are other examples could be the direction or the degree of turn, 3/4 turn. So if you say a 3/4 turn, then the person makes just that 3/4 turn. That's a bit more specific. And as I highlighted earlier on, one of the human factor tools we have, call it the walkthrough, talk through. The walkthrough, talk through, it's designed in a way where you engage the operators. So as you walk through that process with the operators and you talk through it with the operators, you would see opportunities that would help you identify where there are likely gray areas or areas that would create the error traps that would cause, that would be subject to too wide an interpretation, and then have a consensus with the operators as to how to then have a more specific way of clearly stating out that work instruction or that step in the work instruction or step in the procedure.
Thank you very much, Mutat, for another detailed insight. Any more questions? Okay. So in the absence of any other questions, I'll just go ahead and provide a wrap up of the session we've had today. Very engaging. I personally learned a lot. So it brought to bear human factor as it affects safety and business performance, and looked at the business case in terms of effective corporate performance and increased safety performance. An analogy was used through a video to talk about how consequential it could be if we don't have a distinct, do not make an intentional provision for human factor in our designs. We also looked at the people alpha, as well as other disasters like the BP refinery, Texas refinery fire, where a number of gaps were identified, things like inadequate procedure, lack of supervision, overwork of the, tiredness from overwork, lack of communication and handovers between our personnel from one shift to a different shift. This was all human factors that were cited as being the cause of those disasters. Then we looked at very key considerations, things like not having maintenance considerations in design. So that was tying back human factor from a design perspective, making sure that we have human factor considered a very key aspect of our design. And that's something that really drove home to me. Another one was developing from an operational standpoint, developing very clear procedures with objective information, not ambiguous ones that is not very clear as to what action to take. Then he further intimated us about what should be the take home. For me personally, that's incorporating human factors in design considerations and in our operating procedural development, and also advancing the human performance competency pathway, for which he mentioned that the Energy Institute was one option. And of course, integrating and learning more from the oil and gas, human factor, oil and gas resources that we have. And so in terms of a summary, this topic really looked at, it looked very much at the breadth and depth of this topic about human factor and how it applies across the various sectors and how it can improve the organization's safety, efficiency, and quality performance. He further emphasized, Otas, the speaker, emphasized that personnel needs to pay a lot of attention and be more careful in considering human factor in whatever they do. That's a summary of what we've looked at today. And yeah, I'll hand over back to the organizers to lead the rest of the events. Thank you very much.
Ella, are you there? Hello, Secretary.
I don't think she's on seat.
Okay. Let's go back to the agenda.
Okay.
Okay, I think we can quickly take the photograph. Let's quickly take the photograph before people start leaving. Before we take the question of the day, yeah. Please, let's on our videos for a quick photograph. Dorcas, your photograph is not on.
I just turned it on, sir.
Where's Ella?
Okay, we are good.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, quickly, let's take the question of the day winners as publicity chair.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Okay, can everyone hear me? Sorry.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir, for that wonderful presentation. As part of the Know Your Industry Challenge, we had 4 questions today. Among the 4 questions, the first question was on HSC, and the other 3 questions were on drilling and production. The challenge ended with 3 winners, as we can see. Koyo Joe, who works with Watersmith. Chubi Kim also works with Bonatal Energy Solutions. And Daisy works with Waterford. Congratulations to them, and thank you for participating. We will be sending you airtime, or I believe we have sent you airtime already, and your certificates as well. This section is being organized every month, and we encourage you to participate. Thank you.
All right, membership share, quickly take about us.
All right. Okay, so can you project what we have for membership? Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Moses Salom, the membership share. As you may know, this is an SP organized event. SP stands for Society of Petroleum Engineers. We are section 103, Port-Harcourt, and our membership span students, graduates, recent graduates as well, young professionals, that's those who are below the age of 35 or 35 and below, and of course our senior members, those who are above 35. So for SPE, it creates an opportunity for us to network in the industry. And of course, we have a live technical event, which is one of the things we participated today. Industry knowledge dissemination and so much more. SPE is just more than just a professional body. It is, that is why we call it a society. It is an aggregation of everything that you need to advance in your career and your personal development, leadership skill, networking, and lots of many more reasons for you to want to join. As you can see on the right, that's a link to click to join our membership, become a member of SP. And for those who are already members and your membership has elapsed, remember that by the 31st of December this year, all membership will automatically elapse. You're expected to renew your membership either as individual or ensure that your company captures you for membership renewal. Can we see the next slide, please? Okay, Section 103 is a large organization for SPE. Call ourselves SP Port-Harcourt section of Section 103. We have about covering 6 states, 13 student chapters. Our membership strength at the peak is somewhere around 1,004. Currently, I think around 1,206 professional members, and of course, around 1,700 students. Well, for a new member registration for SPE, it will cost you somewhere around 27,000 naira. That's a very small money for professionals who are working. For renewal, people already members, it will cost you around 21,000. Student membership is free because it's already paid by a company, and the renewal for student membership is also free. And there's also a free 1-year lacuna for those who are recently graduated, transitioning into the young professional, provided if you feel this thing. Well, the link is there for you to click. And if you have any questions, you can contact any of our membership team, myself or Marianne, my assistant, or you just contact the SP Secretariat at the SP House. So these are the contact emails, and we can also answer your questions and clarification. Thank you very much, and please remember to renew your membership for the year 2022.
Thank you very much, Moses. All right. I must sincerely thank you, Otas, for this wonderful presentation. You know, it's actually an eye-opener for many of us who work in this industry. And some of these things we take with levity. Well, we may not understand how grievous they can be eventually, just by mere communication. If you don't communicate properly, like the incident of Piper Alpha, you can see the gravity of damage so far caused by lack of communication. Generally, human factors play a major role in our industries, and not just in the oil and gas, but even at home, the academia, everywhere. And we need to be very careful when we're dealing with different persons. So if you are very high in the office, learn how to manage your subordinates, and when you are very low as well, also learn how to manage your superiors in the office. That way we can have a very safe working environment, and also improve our performance in the workplace. I must say, this is one of the best presentations I've seen because of the illustrations you made. And I must sincerely thank you for everything. It came so timely. You were with us yesterday, and today you also give us a very, very interesting presentation. Thank you. And let me also use the opportunity to thank every member that took time to join this meeting. All section executive members, officials, students, and other members that joined. I say thank you for joining. More especially, I want to recognize our section director, Isaac Wanko, that joined, and also our immediate past section chairman, Adebola Bada. Thank you for joining us. I think you have been consistent, and may you continue to keep it up. We want to see you all the time. Thank you for joining. Let me also seize the opportunity to remind us of the strategic board meeting, though there's a section for announcement, which the secretary is going to take, but I need to make this comment because it's very strategic. Come Saturday, 30th of this month, we are going to have our strategic meeting where we're going to streamline all activities that will be carried out in this body. Already we have started, but we need to streamline and also showcase our targets. Every person, every section officer is expected to make a presentation, and on the way forward, it's not going. That section is not going to be hybrid because it's going to be. We're going to have a board meeting and also a strategic board meeting as well. So we are going to hold the board meeting first. That's why I've not called for board meeting. After the board meeting, we'll transit into the strategic board meeting. The board meeting is going to be hybrid, so whoever that is unable to join, come physically, is expected to join us virtually. But the strategic board meeting is going to be physical because that has to do with our targets and so on, and it's just it's going to be exclusively meant for members of the section. So I implore all of you to attend, particularly our senior members. It's so encouraging when I see you join us all the time. I also want to see all of you that day. Want your encouragement, come and give us that support. The YPs really want you, they need you, and we all want you, want to learn from you. Also learn from your wealth of experience so that you also guide us on things that we're not doing properly. And at the end, I believe this section will grow and will take all activities to the next level. Thank you very much. And God bless everyone. Announcements and closing remarks. Actually, Secretary General, you can take that one.
Hello, good evening, everyone. So thanks, Section Chair. You've given them the main announcement, which is the strategy board meeting, but also look out for our other upcoming events. So as you can see on the screen, the YPs have a lot of activities that are planned, and also the student chapters in collaboration with the student chapters. So please look out. I believe that for all of us on the call, we saw our social media pages. Please follow them. If you're not in our WhatsApp group as an SPE 103 member, please join so that you can be connected to all our upcoming events. They are all very interesting and enlightening events, so please do not miss out on them. So as you can see, the flyer for also the Distinguished Lecture Program, which is coming up in November 2021 on the 18th. The registration link is as shown here. That will be shared across all our platforms. So please register, get prepared for this event. It's a topical issue, machine learning. I'm sure with all the digitalization trends, we also want to be in line and in tune with that. So please watch out for that, register for that, and make sure that you attend our DL program for November. Okay. So that's all the announcements. Main thing is stay connected, renew your membership, and participate in all our programs as they come up. And we have a lot of them lined up. On that note, I'll say thank you everyone again for attending, and we'll take the closing prayer. If we have a volunteer to take the closing prayer, anyone please.
I want our bishop to take the closing prayer. Our bishop needs to pray for us.
Alexis.
Our Lord and our God, we are grateful that you gathered us this evening for this meeting. We thank you for our guest speaker. We thank you for everyone that participated. We thank you for the virtual link that we used to meet, and we thank you that the links are stable. We are grateful for our chairman and for our board members. Lord, we ask, oh God, that the information learned this evening, we will apply it in our places of work and we'll make profit out of it in Jesus' name. Father, we pray for SPE. We thank you for those of us who have made this time to attend this meeting. Lord, we ask that this will be the list. We will record multiples of today's membership, today's attendance, in the name of Jesus. We ask that you replenish our guest speaker, all the energy and efforts he has applied to get all this presentation. Lord, we ask that you pay him back. We thank you in Jesus' name. We pray for the board meeting that is coming up on Saturday. We ask, oh God, that it will be worth it, and it will also come out well. Thank you for this. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you,
Thank you very much.
So please don't forget, 8:30, we begin arrivals by 8:30 on Saturday. So please be there on time.
Thank you all. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Altas.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. Mike. Mike.
Yeah, I can hear you. Compliments, sir.
Yes, I didn't see our students. What happened?
Some of them, they are in attendance. I don't know, some of them, they are still trying for airtime. That's all.
Evening, SC.
Good evening.